So the next thing we'll get into is what's referred to as the order of operations. When there's more than one operation present, we have to follow what's called the order of operations. So the first thing we do is parentheses. Remember, we do what's inside parentheses first, and we do parentheses from left to right if there's more than one pair of parentheses in the problem. The next thing in the order of operations is what referred to as exponents or powers. And we do powers as they appear in the problem from left to right. The next operations we do is multiply and divide, and we do multiplication and division together. We do them simultaneously from left to right. So if division comes first, we do division, then multiplication, back and forth, however that is. If multiplication comes first, then we do multiplication and proceed from there. So if they are both present in the problem, we do them together from left to right. Add and subtract, again, we do all addition and subtraction together from left to right. So if subtraction's first, we do subtraction, then addition, and we just kind of go as they appear in the problem from left to right. A lot of times you may hear the phrase, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That helps you kind of put that together. Some people use the phrase PEMDAS to kind of remember the order of operations. But the catch though is the multiplication and division go together, the add and subtraction go together. It's not multiply then divide, it's multiply and divide together, okay? So just be aware of those little phrases like please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. They're not perfectly clear. They just give you a little bit of an idea of how the order of operations work. So if I want to perform the order of operations to work out the expression, notice how there's adding and multiplication problem. So based on what we see in our hierarchy, I don't see any parentheses, I don't see any exponents, but the next thing we come across is multiplication. So the first thing we got to do is 5 times 3, which is going to turn into 15. So then I just bring the rest of the problem down, and 2 plus 15 is the only thing left, and 2 plus 15 would be then 17. So that would be performing the order of operations. Notice I have really the same operations here. I have an addition of 2 and 5, and I have a 3. And since 3 is next to parentheses, that means you're going to multiply. But notice now we have parentheses though. Parentheses says actually add first this time. So 2 plus 5 is going to be 7. And then we're going to have 7 times 3. And 7 times 3 turns into then a 21. So that answer is not the same, even though we have to add and multiply. The parentheses make the order of operations change in that problem. Anything in parentheses has to be done first. So that's when addition is going to go before multiplication, is if the addition is inside of parentheses. As we continue with the order of operations, we're going to perform or simplify the following expression. Notice how again there is subtraction and division. So in the problem I have to maybe remember my order of operations. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I kind of write it like this to help me remind myself that multiplying and dividing go together, adding and subtracting go together. I don't see any parentheses in this first problem. I don't see any exponents. But I do see division, so that's the first thing we got to do is division. So 32 divided by 4 is the first thing we do, and that's going to be an 8. So now I have just 9 minus 8, and 9 minus 8 would just be 1. So 1 would be the answer to that problem. Our next problem, we have 48 divided by, in parentheses, 4 plus 4. And a lot of times we read this as 48 divided by the quantity 4 plus 4. Quantity is a word that tells you that parentheses are present. So we must do the parentheses first, so 4 plus 4 is going to be 8. And once I do the parentheses, I can drop them. So I have 48 divided by 8. And how many 8s does it take to get 48? Again, that's where you can use your math trick. And it would be 6 eighths would be 48. So that answer would be 6. So again, we would do the parentheses first there, which would give us 8, and then we would do the division. So on number 5, we have 18 divided by 2 plus 4 squared. I don't see any parentheses present, but I do see exponents. So before I can do this division, I have to do 4 squared, and 4 times 4 would be 16. So then we bring down the rest of the problem. 18 divided by 2 plus 16. So division goes before addition. So 18 divided by 2, that's going to be 9. 2 goes 18 nine times. And then 9 plus 16 would be my last thing I do, and that would be 25. So the answer to that problem would be 25. The next question, we have parentheses present, but notice that there's more than one operation inside the parentheses. So we actually got to follow the order of operations inside the parentheses as well. So we have to actually square the 2 first. So 2 squared is going to be 4. So that's going to be 5 plus 4. And 5 plus 4 is going to turn into a 9. And the division symbol goes there. And we have parentheses there. 2 plus 1 to be 3. And I need to go ahead and just bring that down. 9 divided by 3 would be left. So 9 divided by 3 would be, how many 3's go on 9? And that would be 3. This is where order of operations gets tricky, is how do you write that on paper? So that's where you have to be really cautious of things and take your time with it. So 4 squared plus 2 divided by 2 plus 10 minus 2. Again, I have a bunch of parentheses here, so I have to do what's inside parentheses here. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. 16 plus 2 is 18. I'm going to just do all that at one time. So it's divided by 2 plus, and 10 minus 2 would be then 8. So I did my parentheses all on one line. So if you can do some of that mental math there, that makes it a little bit easier. How many 2's go into 18, or do I do addition next? Well, actually, based on the order of operations, division goes next, addition goes last. So 2 goes to 18 9 times, and 9 plus 8 would be then 17. And so that would be some examples of how the order of operations works. So evaluating an algebraic expression. Evaluating is just another word that just means work out. But a lot of times evaluating comes when there's variables present, those letters. So to evaluate or to work out an algebraic expression, what we want to do is we want to replace the variables with their assigned values. I think I need an ED there, assigned values, and perform the order of operations. So to evaluate the expression, notice that x equals 2 and y equals -3. Those are the assigned values. So wherever there's an x, I got to replace it with a 2, and wherever there's a y, I got to replace it with a -3. Well, if I look at the first expression, it does not have a y in it, it only has an x in it. But remember, 3 times x is a multiplication. And I'm going to use parentheses for multiplication when I do this. So I have 3, and I'm going to use parentheses for multiplication symbol. I'm going to have 3 times 2, and then I have plus then the 10. So I replace x with the assigned value. Now I perform the order of operations. So my order of operations again was please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, adding, subtracting. So I do my multiplication, which would be a 6, and then I add the 10. And that would give me then, and I ran out of room there, so I'm just going to slide over here and say 16, so I don't crowd the other problem. So next problem is 14 take away 2y. So I'm going to replace the y with the -3. So 14 minus 2 times -3. Again, I'm going to use parentheses to model multiplication. So again, I have subtraction and multiplication. I do multiplication first, so 2 times -3 makes a -6. So then I bring down 14 minus. Again, if you use the circle method, you have the 14 and you have the opposite of a -6. So that's going to be 14 plus 6. So remember, those two negatives is going to make that turn into a positive there. One of them stands for the opposite of a -6. And 14 plus 6 would be then a 20. You can also use the KCC method. when you see subtraction present. So here I have to replace the x with a 3, so I have 4. I replace the x with a 2, so I have a 2 inside there. And then the 2 is being squared. I keep the 2 on the outside of the parenthesis there, like so. Plus then 3 times negative 3. So I replace the x with the 2 and the y with the negative 3. So I have to do exponents first. So 2 squared is going to be 4. That's going to be then 4 times 4. Plus then 3 times negative 3. So multiplication would go next. 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 3 is negative 9. And then the addition symbol comes down. So 16 plus negative 9, those signs are different, so you have to subtract. 16 minus 9 would be 7. And you keep the bigger label, so it's going to be a positive 7. So number 4, you have x squared minus y squared. So I replace the x with the 2, and again, I'm going to use parentheses here. 2 squared minus, and when I replace the y, I'm going to use parentheses, negative 3 squared. So when I do my exponents, 2 squared means 2 times 2, which is 4. Negative 3 squared means negative 3 times negative 3. So that's going to be a positive 9. And then you bring down the subtraction symbol. So again, you can use the circle method if you need to. So that helps us see the problem. So it's really going to be a 4 and a negative 9. Again, as long as you see it as 4 and negative 9, you don't really have to put the circles there. I'm just using it as an aid right now, but you can drop that. So 4 and a negative 9, notice how the signs are different, so it's a subtraction problem. So I end up with a 5, and we keep the label the bigger value. That's going to be a negative 5. It's more negative than it is positive. So I have 6y on this one. That's going to be 6 times negative 3. And then you're subtracting 5 times 2. So multiplication goes before subtraction. So 6 times negative 3. That's going to be negative 18. 5 times 2 is 10. Now I have negative 18, take away 10. So again, if you use the circle method, you should be seeing a negative 18 and a negative 10. So negative 18 and a negative 10. And since the sign's the same, you add them. 10 plus 18 would be 28. And you have to keep the label. So it's going to remain negative, negative 28. So that's how we evaluate expressions, is you have to replace the variable with the assigned value, and then we basically perform the order of operations using the PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And that concludes our lesson for today. Enjoy.